What's up guys, I'm your host Jordan, and today I will be dissecting the topic of performance and arousal. So to begin, I will break down why it is in our best interest when competing in sports and going to the gym to make sure we are in the optimal state of arousal. So if we use the multi-dimensional theory, for example, we can take into account two stimuli. For example, one being temperament and one being the pressure of the situation. It's clear that if you have too much or too little arousal, you'll be completely inefficient. If you are too able to compete and you are too able for the activity, you'll get to a point where you are indifferent to the outcome because you don't care about the activity to start with, so you won't care if you perform well in the activity. So if you use the other side of the coin, let's say you're in the penalty shootout of the major competition and you're taking the last penalty of the game, as well as an individual with a neurotic temperament, your ability to think is going to become like a funnel, and it's going to be directed toward the lower resolution area, which means that you'll focus on more trivial matters, such as your body kicking the ball rather than figuring out where you are going to kick it. So you can only deal with anxiety two ways. You can either perceive it as being something you need to push you forward, or you can perceive it as something that you are scared of facing. And if you perceive it using the first way, then it's pushing you forward rather than pushing you back, and you're likely to make clever decisions. So if we look at the other example, you perceive anxiety as pushing you back rather than forward. The anxiety is to a point where you are no longer cognizant enough to perform at your best, because once again you're too focused on trivial information, such as making sure you're doing the right things limb-wise rather than thinking abstractly on your feet. And then you might ask, how can you make sure you're stimulated before you go to the gym? Or how can you make sure you're stimulated before you exercise? And the answer to that would be, pick time in the day when you're highly stimulated, pre-workouts. And which pre-workouts? Obviously, caffeine can be great, and making sure you're not distracting yourself. If you make sure you are just going through each of the exercises one by one, completing them as effectively as possible, putting your all into them, getting yourself into that zone with that music, and making sure that you perform exercises that actually cater to you as well. And if you're not doing it because it's boring and it's not allowing your arousal levels to stay optimal, then obviously substituting it for another exercise is a great idea. So what happens when you are understimulated at the gym? You are compromised. You'd be likely to compromise your workout as well to cater to your well-being in that moment of time. So to summarize, looking for the optimal state of arousal should be paramount before a sporting situation or when in high-pressure situations. And we went over the ways of being able to get to that high state of arousal without going too far into panic and narrow thinking, which is caused by being overly stimulated and therefore focusing on your limbs creating the actions rather than actually doing the actions in an effective way.